ANC is not in conversation with anybody, formally or informally, about forming coalitions. We belong to the National Super Alliance, the NASA coalition, that brings together 5 political parties, being ANC, being Ford Kenya, Chama cha Mashinani, and ODM, and of course Wiper. That coalition exists. It's been registered with the registrar of political parties. For us to get into another coalition, we would need maybe as NASA first to sit down and hold a conversation and agree that as NASA we are going into a coalition arrangement with other parties on the basis of certain felt urgent needs in the country. Barring that, individual members or individual parties within the NASA coalition have got the right and freedom to withdraw from NASA formally, and that then leaves them free to get into whatever other coalitions they may wish to get into. But you cannot possibly be in 2 coalitions at the same time. The Political Parties Act that makes provision for that kind of formation does not recognize the possibility that you could have one leg in one coalition. I can only talk about what the law says. And the law says that you can get into a coalition before or after elections. And our coalition was a pre-election coalition. That doesn't mean that if you are a member of that coalition, you may not withdraw and go into another coalition. In any event, for ODM, for example, to go into a coalition arrangement with KANU, if that is where they are going, whether they want to go into a coalition with Jubilee, if that is where they are going, they would need to negotiate first. And that negotiation they can do even as they remain within the pre-existing coalition. And I think let us not judge them too harshly. They are within their rights to do that. But we as ANC know where we are. We know that we are in that which we call the opposition, although of course the Constitution itself does not talk about the opposition. But within the common practice of politics and governance, you always have those who are in government, and then you have those who are in the opposition, such that the opposition existed even in the one-party days of KANU, when opposition was not recognized constitutionally, and therefore we can say we are in the opposition. There must be somebody to monitor what government is doing, to oversee, to represent the alternative voice, the alternative vision, the alternative focus, and that is a role that we are playing. This is the internal power struggle in Jubilee. Those of us who are outside Jubilee must wonder what happened to yangu 10 alafu ya Ruto 10. But that is their problem. It is not our problem. They have got every right to decide who they would like to be the leader of the majority in the Senate and even afterwards in the National Assembly. The regrettable thing is that Jubilee then makes what is their internal power struggle and crisis to become a national crisis. They ought to be able, if they have the competence that is desirable, to sort out their competitive dynamics within their party without getting the thing to spill over into public space and becoming a national crisis, particularly not at this time when there are so many other things that the country needs to focus on. We have got the new coronavirus that has virtually paralyzed not just the country, but the entire global community. This should be the president's foremost waking and sleeping agenda. He should be wondering about the economy that is now in a free fall. He should be wondering about the diminishing tax base. Even as the Kenya Revenue Authority gives us its estimate of 2.7 trillion that it hopes to collect, we are wondering where it is going to collect that from, whether it be 2.1 or 2.7 trillion. Where is it going to collect that from when enterprises across the board are getting into a state of paralysis, when personal income is disappearing because you cannot tax nothing? People must make certain earnings which you then go out to tax. That is where the focus of a sober leadership that is informed with the welfare of the people should be attending to. Not about whether so-and-so will be on the presidential ballot paper in 2022 or will not be. As the government in waiting, we don't mind who they are going to bring on that ballot paper. We would expect that they should be doing the business of government as they have been mandated, without this diversion. It is a time when jobs have been lost, incomes have been lost, even for those who are nominally still employed. The informal sector is collapsing. You go to Kakamega here in Lubao, where people have been selling cattle, the market is closed. Other cattle markets are closed. You go to the fishing industry here in Kisumu, it is collapsing. You look at the border business here, it is collapsing. You look at a country and you can see that it is a country that has got enough crisis to keep it going without the ruling party and the government executive generating a new source of crisis for the country to train its attention on. Our children are at home. We don't know when they will ever go back to school, if ever at all. We are talking about a situation where citizens are afraid of going to hospitals to receive health care. Don't we need a government that goes back to reassure the people instead of wasting time in unnecessary power struggles?